This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Rice's visit to Beirut comes as violent clashes took place in Marun al-Ras and Vintage Bay between the occupation forces and the resistance. Israel is trying to expand its incursion into Lebanese lands. According to announcements, 9 Israeli occupation soldiers were killed and dozens of others were injured. This is in addition to the death of 2 Israeli soldiers who were killed when their helicopter crashed. Hezbollah says that it downed the helicopter. Meanwhile, Hezbollah also announced that 3 of its fighters were martyred. The occupation radio announced that Israel has captured members of Hezbollah. The southern lands are where confrontations between the Israeli occupation army and fighters from Hezbollah are taking place. The occupation army widened its land operations. After the Israeli army announced that it took control of Marun al-Ras, the Israeli forces advanced towards Vintage Bay. Israeli radio announced that the occupation forces entered the suburbs of the city. According to a Lebanese security source, the confrontations were centered in Marun al-Ras, where about 20 fighters from Hezbollah took bypass roads around the village in the north and were able to set an Israeli tank on fire. The source said that Hezbollah was able to damage 5 occupation army tanks. In the continued confrontations, where automatic weapons and missiles are used, the occupation army admitted that 9 of its soldiers were killed and dozens of others were injured. Some of them were transported by Israeli helicopters from inside Lebanon to Haifa. Among them was a brigadier commander of one of the infantry divisions. There were contradictory reports about the conditions which led to the downing of an Israeli helicopter near the Lebanese border. Hezbollah issued a statement saying that its fighters downed the helicopter during a fierce battle. At first, Israeli assumptions indicated that the crash may have been caused by a technical or human error. But later, a senior official in the Israeli Air Force did not exclude the possibility that the helicopter was hit by Hezbollah weapons. Though the Israeli army did not reveal details of the plane crash, it did reveal that 2 of its soldiers were killed. On a similar note, Israeli radio announced that Israel has captured 2 Hezbollah fighters during a battle in Marun al-Ras and took them to Israel. Hezbollah announced that 3 of its fighters were martyred, including Ali Mustafa Dilbani and Ali Hussein al-Wazwaz, who died during confrontations with the enemy. The Israeli army's engagement in battles on Lebanese lands did not stop it from continuing its air aggressions. At least 7 people were martyred and dozens of others were injured. All were victims of Israel's airstrikes, which targeted many villages in the area of Sur. 6 Palestinians were also injured, including a 4-month-old infant in the Rashidi camp in Sur, which was subjected to bombings. Meanwhile, search campaigns for possible survivors buried underneath the rubble continue. Israeli airplanes struck the hills of Kafr Suba and Miri. Planes also carried out 23 consecutive air raids on 3 Hezbollah positions in the border area of Arqub.
And what seemed to be a surprisingly quiet day in Haifa was shattered by another round of Hezbollah rocket attacks just a couple of hours ago. Those attacks continue. We now go live to Haifa, where IBA reporter Viva Press joins us. Viva, give us an update now on today's events.
Yes, Yochanan, as you reported, quiet this morning was interrupted by a barrage of rockets here in the north in Haifa, as well as other northern communities. Rockets did land in Haifa in open areas. No injuries were reported. Other northern communities to be hit today included Kiryat Shmona, Nahariya, Tzfat, Akko, and Ma'alot. People were injured in those attacks, but nobody was killed. You have to understand